Welcome back to Short Hops with manager Kevin Hooper. Short Hops is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Wichita Wingnuts skipper questions about sports, baseball, or just life in general. This has been quite the week here in Wichita, as the Wichita Wingnuts have been forced to make several moves due to two players joining in the Mexican League and one joining affiliate baseball. So we know that Kevin will have a lot of good information to share with us this week. So let's get right to Short Hops.
We want to welcome Kevin back this week. So, Kevin, let's begin with, we know that there's been quite a bit of change around the organization lately with some guys being signed to affiliate clubs and going to Mexico to wind up playing. So can we just get a little update with you from now on, from this point, and starting with Anthony Capra, what has kind of gone on for you this week in trying to get your roster built?
Yeah, it's been one of those tough times, and we've dealt with this plenty in the past where guys are offered some really good money to go to Mexico and to play for the summer, and some of these guys have a family to support, and I can't blame them one bit because we can't pay them anywhere close to the money they make in Mexico. And Capra was the first one. It all started with Anthony heading to Mexico, and then Navarez. I actually didn't think Navarez was going to go because I had quite a few scouts speaking to me about him, and I thought it was just a matter of time again before he got signed. But it came down to it where he needed to support his family. It was something he wouldn't feel like he could pass up. So he took the opportunity to go to Mexico also, and then we lose Alberto Gonzalez to the Detroit Tigers, which is a wonderful thing. We obviously want to get as many guys signed as we possibly can. So that's where we're at right now. Three pretty good pieces, big pieces to our puzzle too. Your number one starter, your closer, and your shortstop, who hadn't made an error in 30 games played. So we brought a young kid in yesterday to play shortstop, so we'll see how that goes. And, it might be a little stop plug right now for the time being, but we'll see how he does and give him an opportunity. And we're always looking for some good pitching. We obviously got Scott Richmond, who made 25 starts in the major leagues one year to replace Capra. And then we got Ben Como back just the other day, and he'll make his first start back with us tonight.
Coming back to the three guys going to Mexico and then Gonzalez going to Detroit, we know that during the season you've often had 5-6 guys that have headed to an affiliate league club of some nature. Have you ever had it where it was like in a 3-day period of time before that where 3 guys were signed like that?
I actually have. In 2012, we lost 3 guys in one day to Mexico. They all came into my office and just said they were going to give Mexico a shot. And that was C.J. Ziegler, our starting first baseman, Jake Cajalillo, our starting second baseman, and James Hoyt, our setup guy. And we also lost Vaughn Richardson that same week to an elbow injury, our third baseman. So, yeah, we've actually been down this road before, and in the middle of the season, they're never easy to replace, so I've been on this phone quite a bit, you can imagine.
Now, you brought back in Ben Como,
yes.
Traded away Dustin Geiger to accommodate bringing Ben Como back. First of all, I know you have to be thrilled to be bringing back the starter because he was looking really solid for Laredo.
Yeah, and that's what we've kind of decided here. We're struggling a little bit offensively, so we're going to do our best to load this thing up on some starting pitching and minimize the other team's offense the best we can, and hopefully not have to score too many runs to even win a game. So we're just going to continue to grind it out and try to continue to get some pieces that we think are going to help us in certain ways. And obviously Geiger was one of the hottest hitters in the league, and we wish him nothing but the best in Laredo, and hopefully it's just a matter of time before he gets another shot at affiliate ball because he's only 23 years old.
I saw that Charlie Lowell was placed on the disabled list today. Can I get an update on what that status is?
Yeah, Charlie Lowell got put on the DL yesterday, and he's got a little elbow issue going on. He's really not sure what it is. He's going to go back home to St. Louis to see the gentleman that did a surgery for him with his elbow and see what we can find out. So I'm not real sure how long that's going to be for. We also put Jace Ray on the disabled list today with a elbow issue. He's had an elbow issue here for about a week and a half. He's been playing through it, and it's just kind of getting worse and worse. He's actually just got tennis elbow, so it's nothing major. It's just going to be something that needs some rest. So hopefully these 7 days that he has to be on the DL, this whole road trip, will be the time that it takes to get him back and to get him right and be ready for Laredo come next Monday when we get back home.
Now, I would assume already that you've been looking at replacement outfielders and filling some of these spots that you're wind up losing players to, either to injury or to signing somewhere else. Is there any update that you could provide for us at this time about that, or is this kind of still in the process at the moment?
Yeah, we actually signed a young kid straight out of college, Trevor Jones from Central Missouri. Speedy, left-handed hitting, leadoff type guy. It's a center fielder also. So we brought him in. We'll give him his first shot at it tonight to see what he's capable of doing also. It's just tough. Like I said, it's tough to replace these guys in the middle of the season. You know, you get some guys in here that you think can help, but, you know, everybody wants to continue to talk about all the guys that we've lost throughout the year. You know, you lose your 3-4 hitter to begin the season. One to retirement, one wasn't in shape, and then you continue to lose 2 guys to Mexico. You lose your shortstop. Now you're losing Lowell and Jace Ray to injury. You know, it's tough to replace all those guys, but for me, you're never going to hear me make an excuse about it either. That's no excuse for the way we've been playing and what we're still capable of doing. So we're going to keep plugging away.
Is John Nestor about ready to return to the Diamond?
Yeah, and that's another guy, Robert, that's been a tough spot for us. And we've got a wonderful backup in Brent Dean, but anytime you lose your starting catcher, it's tough to replace that guy. And I'm hoping tonight we can get him back out there. Worst case, maybe tomorrow. He was DHing yesterday, just getting back on the field, getting moving a little bit. So keeping my fingers crossed we can get him active back behind the plate tonight.
In the recent Joplin series, it looked like Matt Patchett was swinging the bat a lot better for you. Are you starting to see kind of a turnaround in his game for your club this year?
I hope so. You know, it's kind of been our team this year. I equate it to a roller coaster. We've been a roller coaster of a team. You know, we'll be so high, then the next day we're so low, and it's just up and down, up and down. It's kind of how we've all been. And Padge showed some games this weekend where he was up there, high as could be, and gives you a glimpse of what he is capable of doing. It's just kind of like our whole team. Saturday night we put up 16 runs, and then yesterday we come out and score 2. And you know, we've just been so inconsistent with everything. I think that includes everybody pretty much on our team at times where we've been really inconsistent. So we got to find that consistency and try to get that consistency day in and day out, because Pat is a guy who can help us. We know what he's capable of doing. He's a game changer when he's on.
It also has looked like TJ Middlestad has filled a wide variety of roles for you. Pretty much any spot that you've asked him to fill out lately, he's been at second and third and in the outfield. And plus, he's getting on base at an unbelievable pace, too. So what kind of, are you seeing him as really kind of being a catalyst for you guys right at this particular time?
Yeah, TJ's a very versatile guy, and that's what's so nice about it. He can play anywhere on the field. He can hit anywhere on the lineup, too. You know, he could be a leadoff guy because of all the walks he draws. He can be in the middle of the lineup because he has some power to go with that. So very versatile, and yeah, he tries to find his way to first base any way he can, and we need that right now. We need as many guys as we can to do that, and get as many guys at first base as we can, and get them over and get them in.
Excellent. Well, thank you for those updates for us, Kevin. So we'll get to this week's questions from people. So first, Todd from Butler would like to know, he noticed that you always touch third and kick at the bag when you come out to the third base coach's box at the start of inning, and wanted to know what that was about.
Todd's paying attention to what's going on, for sure. No, it's just a little ritual I do. You know, we're so routine-oriented, like I say, and especially at the first of the game, I'll walk over and shake the third baseman's hand more often than not, wish him the best for that evening. And I'm standing on third base doing that, and so it just turned into something where every inning I head out there and I get the third and I either kick it or clean it off. Just see me clean it off a lot. Just one of those rituals, one of those routine-oriented things that, you know, you do as a player, and now I guess I do as a manager. It's just turned into kind of part of my routine.
I was curious along those same lines watching you this weekend that when a pitcher is pitching, you actually have your back to home plate at that time, and then sort of turn and watch the pitch come in. Is there a purpose that you're looking for that when you're doing that, or is this kind of just a pattern that you've followed for over the years?
Yeah, for me, it's just coaching third. For me, I compare to playing shortstop. In order to be the best I can be, it's all about angles and positioning myself. When you see me do that, there's a guy on second base, and I'm creating myself an angle to see the shortstop and getting the best view of the shortstop. If I went on the other side, I can't really see. If I went more towards third base and not more towards home, I couldn't necessarily see how close the shortstop is, per se. So I try to get the best angles. You'll see me way deep, way behind third base when there's a guy on third base, because that way everything's in front of me, and I'm able to see the third baseman, whether he's going to back pick or not. A lot of managers and coaches stay where you just mentioned me staying with my back to the hitter, even with the guy on third base. But for me, I don't think that gives me the best angle trying to do what I'm trying to create.
Oh, that's very interesting. Rachel from Wichita points out that she noticed that some umpires call extremely small strike zones, and she wanted to know, is there any way that you can address this with the umpire during games, or do you so the umpire kind of sees things from your way?
Well, their big thing is you can't argue balls and strikes, and that's an issue that's a no-no with umpires. There's certain guys where I can push the buttons with, and there's certain guys that I can't. I kind of know my limitations with those guys. There'll be times in between innings where, I'll walk out there. It's not very often because I let them do their job. But there'll be times I go out there, and whether it's to the mound to talk to the pitcher and wait for him to get to the mound, or maybe in between innings, especially if I'm walking across the diamond to go back to the third base dugout if we're on the road, or the first base dugout, if we're on the road. Or you're throwing a little tidbit at them, maybe. So, I have a certain way, even on missed calls that I think were missed in the field, of going about my business. I want an answer from them. When I go out there to talk to an umpire, I want an answer, and when I don't get that answer, I have a hard time with it. So, I'm going out there for a reason, and I want an answer, and not always am I getting that answer, and that's frustrating at times. But it is what it is. They're all human beings also, and I know they're not perfect, but, I try to tell most of them, you just work as hard as you can and be consistent with the strike zone. That's all I can ask.
Dave from Tyler would like to know, what accomplishment at your time at Wichita do you consider to be the most impressive?
Obviously, it's got to be the championship from last year. It's what you work for. You put in all those hours to reward your organization with a championship, and that's fulfilling. Another fulfilling thing for me is getting guys signed and getting guys back to affiliated ball for the first time. Brings a huge smile to my face, no matter who it is, no matter what time of year it is. That's a big time passion of mine, is getting guys back and getting there for the first time, and something special. But the championship's got to be on the top, no doubt. It's something we've strived for a long time. We're finally able to obtain.
Steve from Lions would like to know, is it hard to manage players that you once played with?
It really isn't. A lot of people ask me that. To be honest, I think a lot of times it's easier, just because they know me, I know them, we're comfortable with each other, and they know I wouldn't bring them in unless I knew they lived up to the expectations that I'm expecting when you put this uniform on. So, the guys I've played with obviously are friends of mine, but everybody tells me you would never know, because that's the way I manage and treat everybody, I guess. No, I don't have favorites. I'm not going to show favoritism to anybody. There might be a day off the field, where, we're just mingling about old times, obviously, because those are memories that I got to play with them and whatnot. But more often than not, they're going to get treated like anybody else on this team, and that's that. So really no different than anybody else. A lot of times, though, it's easier. I know some people might think it's harder just because they were a teammate of mine. I might have to go about it a certain way with them, but that's not the case. There's a mutual respect for both when we're in that situation, and it's actually easier.
If I could add for Steve here as well, in the players that I have personally talked to that have played with Hoop and then been managed by him later on, actually knowing him was one of the primary reasons why they wanted to come and play for you, was because they knew exactly the kind of manager you would be, because they knew you so well. that
Right.
they thought this is the exact place where I know I can get the most out of my game because he's going to expect that out of me. And that became kind of a good lure for them wanting to come to play for you. So
That's great to hear.
Jim from McPherson would like to know if you have any pet peeves related to baseball.
Yeah, most of my pet peeves are behavioral, I guess, from guys on other teams. You know, I'm a big demeanor guy and body language guy and how you carry yourself. And, you know, there's just laziness. When I see laziness, maybe a guy wears hat, crooked a certain way. You know, those are just little things that I feel like there's a way to wear a uniform and a way that you play the game. I think it just goes back to my respect for the game and what I expect out of my guys. And when I see it the other way, that's a big pet peeve of mine, for sure.
Mike from Wichita would like to know if you have some tips to improving a person's bunting skills.
Yes, I do. I felt like that was a big part of my game, and we try to make it a big part of a lot of our guys' game here. A big secret on bunting that a lot of people that I learned way back is to have a loose bottom hand when you're bunting the ball, because that's going to keep the bat obviously loose in your hand. And when you catch it off of the end of the bat, ideally you want to bunt the ball off the end of the bat, because it's all about deadening the ball. And having that loose bottom hand is going to help deaden that ball, because when it hits that barrel, it's going to give even a little more. When you're tight, it's going to bounce off a little harder. So loose bottom hand, obviously try to catch it off the end of the bat anytime you can. A drill I used to do as a player sometimes, when we do it with our guys, is have guys get in a box and rotate like they're bunting, and then put a glove on their hand and have a machine throw balls at you, and you catch the balls with your glove. So I always talk about when you're bunting, you're catching the ball. And it's a good little drill. It's a good little drill to track the ball, just like hitting. I talk about having the nose and chin on the barrel of the bat and where the ball is going to be hitting, because you see so many times that head leaves their body and the guy ends up popping up a little bunt up. So those are some little keys, little tricks of mine that I always talk about when bunting with our guys.
Oh, that's very interesting. Excellent. Craig from Newton noticed that lots of teams use shifts for certain hitters, but it appeared to him that you didn't do things like that. Do you not deploy these kind of things, or is there just anybody you haven't faced so far that required that kind of defensive shift?
Yeah, there'll be, every once in a while we will. It's not very often, though, that we use a shift. Just dead pull guys, obviously, we'll move either our second baseman. It's easier with a lefty, obviously, because you can't really move a shortstop deep in a hole like you can a second baseman. So we'll move our second baseman deep in a hole at times, and our shortstop pretty much. The furthest I'll get my shortstop is pretty much right behind second base, so it's barely one side of the bag. And then you got to leave your third baseman closer to third. Depending on the situation, nobody on, down, second, stuff like that. So we don't do it a ton, but there are certain guys where we'll put it into our strategy every once in a while. But it's got to be a guy who's just a dead yank guy that there's really, a slim chance of him hitting the ball the other way.
So you don't go with I've seen some clubs have used, like the third baseman will go all the way into right field. Okay, that doesn't happen for you. Okay.
No, I've never done that one. No, we've never done that one.
Excellent. Jim from Derby.
I think in the big leagues it's a lot easier, Robert, because of the advanced scouting.
Okay.
There's so much advanced scouting. They see these guys every day and what they're doing. And then, in our league, there's some teams where I only get to see one series or maybe even two. So you don't get to see them near as much as those guys in the big leagues who get those wonderful reports on every single guy. And I think if that was the case, you'd probably see it a lot more at our level.
Do you really think it's as beneficial as I don't know. To me personally, kind of thinking leaving that huge gap out there on the left side of the infield, this looks kind of scary to me. But is it really that much more beneficial to even try?
See, for me, it's not. So that's why we don't do it as much, just because, the eight guys out there, besides the pitcher, are there. Have been there for a long time, and they're positioned where they are because statistically it's going to show you the ball is going to get there more often than not. That's why they're positioned where they are. And yeah, you put a shift on a guy, sure, it's going to work every once in a while. And obviously they do it to big leagues so much because they think it's going to work more often than not. So, but if you find a guy who can handle the bat at all, even a bigger guy who has bat control that could lay a bunt down, I'm going to make him beat me as opposed to just giving him a free bag. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Very interesting. Jim from Derby would like to know if there are current major league players that you like to watch today.
Yeah, that's a long list of guys. I love to watch baseball. I love to watch the game. I think Mike Trout's a guy that everybody enjoys watching play right now. He's got all the tools in the world. Me, I'm going to like the guys who play hard and grind it out and leave everything on the field. And they'll literally run into a wall for their teammates. And Trout's one of those guys who plays hard, has a lot of ability, and you see him making diving catches, running things out, running hard on the bases, and doing a lot of the little things the right way. So Trout's a guy that I definitely enjoy watching. I just enjoy watching pure hitters too. You watch a guy like Miguel Cabrera, former teammate of mine, hit. I mean, I love watching him hit. Just those pure hitters. It's always fun to watch those guys hit.
I'm curious, Kevin. From a hard-nosed guy, okay, so you have players out there that will really bust themselves to get to every play, make the dive, crash into the wall kind of thing. What is the kind of threshold for you as a manager that says, I want this kind of effort, but I also got to ensure that a guy doesn't get hurt, and diving for balls all the time and going to the wall for something is increasing your risk of getting hurt. So how do you try to limit a guy's ability, kind of situations where he's putting himself more in danger, but also still get the performance you're looking for out of him?
Yeah, and I talk about it a lot with our guys in situations like that. Maybe a guy who plays hard that's maybe got a little hamstring issue or a little bit of injury that he's having to play through, I make sure and let them know, hey, like Nestor when he had the hamstring issue, you hit a ground ball, I know the fans are going to think you're not running balls out, but none of them know what the real issue is. And it's a situation I didn't want him running a ground ball out. If he hit a ground ball to shortstop, he was pretty much going to jog to first base. And that's kind of what you're dealt with at this level, only having the roster of 22 that you have. When a guy has an injury, I tell them all, I don't need a hero. This is a long season, and I need you for the whole year. And it's like Jace Ray. Jace Ray wanted to play through his elbow issue, and I commend him for that because Jace is my type of guy. He doesn't want to come out of the game. But I called him in the office, and we had a heart-to-heart about it. I have a certain way of going about things with guys, and I just straight up asked him, be honest. If we give this thing a rest for a week, do you feel like it's going to get better? Is it bothering you that bad? And he shook his head yes, and I said, that's the answer I needed. So, you got to be real with them at times, and you just got to do what's best for this team that you think, and what's best for the individual, because he can use some rest obviously right now, and we're hoping that this week's going to take it off. But back to your question, yeah, you gotta kind of there's certain guys that you gotta look after a little more than others, just because of the way they play the game, for sure.
Timmy from Wichita would like to know if you have suggestions for fun family things to do in Wichita.
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm always trying to find fun family things for my two daughters and wife to do. I'm not sure there's anything like really out of the ordinary in Wichita that we do as a family. We like to go for bike rides and take our bikes certain places to ride bikes. All-Star Sports is always a hot spot for us because my girls like to play the video games and stuff like that. We go to the zoo a lot with the wonderful zoo in Wichita, but those are, like I said, those are things that people are probably already doing, but both my girls are fish, so in the summertime, anytime Daddy gets a chance to go swimming with them, we're doing that. So it's your basic family things. There's really nothing special out of the ordinary in Wichita that we do as a family that's kind of out of the ordinary.
Tom from Independence wants to know if you met Greg Marshall, that's the basketball coach at Wichita State. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what is your assessment of him if you have met him?
I have met him. I've met him on numerous occasions. We've actually spoken on the phone on numerous occasions. So I do have a relationship with him. You know, it's not like we're buddies and our families hang out by any means, but there's a relationship there. I think there's a mutual respect there on both ends. He's done something special in the city of Wichita, which used to be a baseball university, has now turned into a basketball university. It's crazy how quick things happen. When I was back playing baseball there, you could go into that arena and sit wherever you wanted to. And now every game's sold out, and it's tough to get a ticket at times. So what Greg Marshall has done for that university and that basketball team has been pretty special. He's kind of taken that town over, and he's taken it by storm. And it's been a pleasure to watch. He's an intense guy. He expects a lot out of his players, like I do mine, I believe. And he's a very fiery guy and wants to win a lot like I do. So a lot of similarities between the two of us, I think. And it's been nice to get to know him, the little that I have, and spending the time that I have with him.
So is fiery kind of the Wichita State way?
Basketball way?
Just Wichita State in general. Is Wichita State's athletes kind of a fiery group of guys out there ready to bust it all to win games?
Yeah. I mean, the basketball team, absolutely. Todd Butler, I've known him a little bit, but haven't been around the baseball team a ton. So that's how it used to be at Wichita State for sure, baseball-wise. I mean, we were a bunch of grinders who were going to grind it out and find a way to win any night of the week, and it didn't matter who we were playing, we were going to win. That was just kind of our mentality. It's kind of what has transpired to here with the Wichita Wingnuts. That's the mentality I want, day in and day out, what we try to strive and become.
Don from Wichita would like to know why you decided to selected to go to Wichita State.
For me, it was pretty much between Wichita State and KU. KU being that was home for me in Lawrence. And I just remember watching Wichita State baseball on TV growing up and all those World Series that we're in. And I knew I wanted to play in the major leagues. And by doing that, I thought Wichita State was going to give me that best opportunity, and obviously worked out the way I wanted it to.
Ted from El Dorado, whichever way I guess this is said.
El
Dorado, okay. I want to make sure I had it right there. Have you ever started heading to first base knowing that the pitch should be called a strike, but by heading to first, the umpire called it a ball?
No, I think more often than not that goes the opposite way. Kind of how umpires' mentality is. You're not going to. A lot of them see it as kind of showing them up when you leave the box early. So more often than not, very rarely is it going to work in your favor. Now, maybe if you're a respected guy or respected vet that's been around a long time, yeah, it could help you a little bit. But more often than not, it's going to work the other way, and it's going to work against you.
That's a good tip for people out there. James from Oberlin would like to know, were there teams in your career that you really liked beating more than others?
There's always teams. It goes back to that question you asked me earlier, where maybe we don't think they play the right game, the game the right way, or the way they go about their business is just kind of lazy in the way they carry themselves as a team. I'm not going to name any names in our league, but as a player, yeah, and that's going back as a player, that's a while ago now. But I think that as a player, it's just those big time rivalries that you built. Those were always big matchups, and those were always teams that you really wanted to beat, and you really wanted to be your best against, were those rivals, because, those rivals where there ends up being some tension in between teams a lot of times, just because both teams are so adamant about winning, and it brings the best out of everybody, and those were always some fun times.
So Henry at Wichita would like to know, with rules changing to eliminate home plate collisions, do you think it will be inevitable that sliding in to take out a middle infielder on a double play grounder will also be outlawed?
Yeah, it's interesting. Being a middle infielder, I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that, because honestly, it's very similar to a plate, if not worse, in my mind. Because so many times a slow ground ball might be hit, and especially as a second baseman, you don't see that guy coming, and you don't see where he's at. You try to have a feel for him, but he's got one thing on his mind, and that's to take you out when he's sliding into second base. So, I'm surprised you don't see it more often than you do. It might just be a tribute to the middle infielders and how good they are and how good a feet they have. And I always took a lot of pride. And once I got the ball, getting rid of it and clearing myself and using that base kind of as a safety belt for me and using it kind of as protection to where I was going to make that guy slide right over that bag and use it as protection. So it'd be interesting to see if they end up doing that and just make guys slide right into the bag like they do in college. Because I tell all the college guys that I work with, they have to slide into the bag, put in the program right when you get drafted. You better be ready to clear yourself because guys are coming after you.
This was an interesting question that I hadn't really considered till Henry had asked it, but I would think because, home plate collisions, what are you going to have? Maybe one a game? But this double play breakups are like 6-7 times a game per team.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, like you said, that's a great question, and I'm interested to see what comes out of it, if anything.
Excellent. Well, Kevin, we want to thank you for spending time with us here again this week, and we hope you get things rolling back out there for the Wingnuts.
Thanks for your time, Robert. Look forward to it again next week.
All right. Appreciate it, Kevin.
We want to thank Kevin Hooper for joining us on Short Hops this week. If you'd like to pose your own questions to the Wichita Wingnuts skipper, please email them to us at askkevin@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Once again, that's askkevin@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Friday at midnight so we can give Kevin a couple of days to review them before we record the show on Monday. It should be an exciting week in Wichita, so we know you'll have great questions for us this week. I'm Rob Pannier from the Minor League Sports Report, and we'd like to thank you for joining us here on Short Hops, and we look